move on to the next talk by Dr. Sushumna Kannan ji. Dr. Sushumna Kannan, she is going to speak on Guru in Siddhanta Shikhamani of Shivayogi Shivaacharya. Dr. Sushumna Kannan is in fact a scholar in residence at INDICA itself. She has done her PhD in cultural studies from Center for Study of Culture and Society, Bengaluru, India. Her research on the South Asian devotional traditions and feminist epistemology focused on the medieval saint Akka Mahadevi and her vachanas. She received the Browse-Mira French Research Fellowship in 2006 and 2007 and Sir Ratan Tata Fellowship for PhD coursework and writing in 2003 and 2007. Dr. Kannan has published her research on Bhakti, Dharma Shaastras, ethics, women's writing in Kannada and English, as well as on translation theory in peer-reviewed journals and as book chapters. She received the Indic Academy Fellowship in Indic Feminism to study women's subjectivity in Dharma texts in 2021. She is currently working on a book project, Hinduism, Violence and Non-Violence, and is finishing an essay on the Mahabharata as a Stri Shudra text. Dr. Kannan is a scholar in residence at Indic Academy. She runs a podcast on women and Hinduism for INDICA. Today we are going to have another text belonging to Vaishnavism, Vaishnavism by Abhinav Kadambi. And now we have a text on text from a Shaiva Parampara from Dr. Sushumna Kannan, two textual topics today. So Dr. Sushumna Kannan is going to talk about a Shaiva text and the study of Guru, the focus on Guru in that text. Over to you, Dr. Sushumna.
Thank you, Nagraji. I'm very happy to be here. This is a Veerashaiva text, and as you know, Nagraji, I studied Veerashaivism for my PhD, and so I'm drawing from that work today. So this is a text called Shri Siddhanta Shikhamani of Shivayogi Shivaacharya, and I'm looking at just one aspect, which is how the Guru is talked about in this text. The structure of this presentation is as follows. I lay out my research aims and I talk a little bit about Dumo's category of individual, the sannyasi as the individual, and modern scholarship. I talk a little bit about the scope and implications of this work, about the text, its authorship, date, content, and structure, the philosophical underpinnings of the text, the Guru reference and the Shishya reference, the words that are used for them, and the qualities of a Guru and Shishya in this text, and what Gurus must do, and then a conclusion. So basically, the aim of this talk is to address a knowledge gap that exists about Gurus in modern scholarship. Modern scholarship looks down upon any form of servitude, but servitude is a virtue in the Hindu world, and it is rewarded with grace, blessings, knowledge, and the burning of karmas. So my question today is how to bridge this mismatch. In the Hindu world, all our gods are our gurus, but the ethicality, their superiority, and their compassion is not always acknowledged in modern scholarship. The guru-disciple relationship is comparable in Hindu texts with the relationship between parents and children and the spousal relationship where the husband is the guru for wife. But modern scholarship problematizes these based on parameters of power distribution. And so my question is the context missed somehow? And how do we go about fixing that problem? So my suggestion, of course, is something that's quite known to this scholarly circle, that there is possibly something experiential in these relationships that cannot be substituted. Modern scholarship also pays a lot of attention to the caste system, but the inherent fact within it that parents are also our teachers and children are students and apprentices, that fact is not theorized enough. So before going further, I want to remind this audience that in the Apastamba Sutra, there is a mention that whatever knowledge women have, we must learn from them, and that whatever knowledge Shudras have, we must learn from them as well. And the same insights are found in the Vyadha Gita of the Mahabharata. Now, to talk a little bit about Dumo's category of the sannyasi as individualistic. He says that the sannyasi is the only individual in Indian society, whereas everyone else embodies a relational selfhood. Now, this does not quite capture the renunciant that we see in Hindu society, or the many kinds of renunciants that we have around us today. But even in the textual world, this is not true, because in the Mahabharata, we see examples of ascetics being sought out after kings for advice. And then there are dedicated ascetic gurus called Rajagurus. And many of these ascetics were considered the best advisors because they did not quest for power. They were agenda free and were selfless. So in this sense, they too, the ascetics too, had a role to play in society, and they were not isolated or individualistic like Dumo would have us believe. Often a renunciant in a relative isolation too would use his energies for social good. In addition, social good is a prerequisite for taking up renunciation. So then, should we really understand the sannyasi as individualistic just because he's pursuing his moksha? Within the context of a matham too, in today's context, I see that the seers are often guided by a team of Brahmins who are experts in the dharma shaastras. So too, I feel that the renunciate is not always isolated or individualistic. They have specific roles and duties that they are fulfilling. Also, in the Hindu world, one person attaining moksha is seen as a leap for entire mankind. So the connection between the renunciant and the society is never truly broken. Modern scholarship also uses science to call out superstition, when in truth both science and superstition are dynamics of Christianity that at first aimed to establish Jesus as the one true God and rid Europe of pagan cultures. And S.N. Balagangadhara has shown this, so I'm not going to it. But I just wanted to mention, because it's so fashionable to call out modern gurus and point out that we are being superstitious. Modern scholarship has also been obsessed with modern gurus and is very busy calling out their hypocrisies or perceived hypocrisies, and their very participation in contemporary culture or current milieu. The expectation here is that they just completely isolate themselves and not say a word. So modern media especially experiences shock that a person who has renounced will participate in society and speak its vocabulary and so on. And I'd like to say that it doesn't get its categories right. And very often the Chaturmasya lectures delivered by our saints are ignored, and the gurus must always somehow emerge from practical experience and not have an intellectual side. They must perform miracles. Some of these are the expectations that modern scholarship appears to have. And it often equates brahmacharya with celibacy. That is a very limited meaning. It also equates wearing saffron with celibacy. Again, we know that these are limited interpretations. And the matams are always viewed with suspicion. Hence, my aim in this study is to ask, could we first enlist the qualities of a guru and a shishya as per traditional understandings? Could we first chart the guru shishya in its basic version? the Guru-Shishya relationship. So the scope of this work is, of course, limited because this is a single text study. Still, the findings, I think, are generalizable to the conception of Guru in Bhakti, Tantra, Shaiva traditions, and finally Hinduism itself. The text clarifies SSS is what I'm going to call it from now on, because Shri Siddhanta Shikhamani is a little long. So the text clarifies that Hinduism is strongly rooted in Veerashaivism, and that claims for a separate religion status by Lingaites today don't bear out. So in short, this illuminates why Gauri Lankesh had to be murdered and so on. I will be drawing some simple, very simple conclusions about the nature of the Guru and the Shishya and the interaction based on what the text is telling us. Some of these conclusions might appear very basic, but I believe they are necessary. So the implications of this work is simply that Western scholarship knows Tantra quite well and knows that Tantra disregards Varna and Jati, but Indian social sciences is not so aware. So one of the implications of this kind of work could be that Indian social sciences too comes to understand that Tantra disregards Jati. So the text also offers clarifications and invokes reflections in us as to how we must interact with modern gurus today. So a little bit about the authorship of the text. It's a Sanskrit text. It tells us about its author, who is in the lineage of Shivayogi, Muddadeva, Siddhanatha, and then Shivayogi, the author himself. It mentions Tantra texts from Kamika until Vatula and says that they were consulted along with the Shaiva Puranas, and in a way that it was unopposed to the Vedic path, it is composed. It self-identifies as an offering, as offering the essence of Pashupata doctrine. It is a Shivaadhyaapaka text, and Shiva himself is considered the founder of Veerashaiva Dharma. The text states this. So it is said that he first taught it to Parvati, Parvati taught it to Shanmukha, and then to Agastya through Renuka. So the date varies between 8th and the 14th century, but the text has knowledge of Vedas, Gita, and the Puranic style of writing. The text is very methodical and precise. It raises questions and answers them. It defines all its terms before beginning to speak elaborately on any topic. It explains thoroughly, withholding nothing, causing no further questions to arise. 12 verses of salutations to Shiva are present in the beginning. And the whole whole text is in the form of a dialogue between Agastya and Renuka. Agastya asks numerous questions of Renuka, and Renuka answers them all. This is recorded by the author Shivayogi Shivaacharya when Renuka had to come to earth for a minor indiscretion he had committed out of devotion to Shiva. So the text has 21 chapters all in all, and I have used a translation by Shiv Kumar Swami. The philosophical underpinnings of this text are interesting. I'm going to breeze through this, so please bear with me. So the text is very aware of Upanishads, Yajurveda. It cites Yajurveda specifically. It thinks of Brahman of the Upanishads as Shiva himself. And it mentions the 36 gunas drawing from Sankhya. It mentions Parashiva, Maya, Prakriti, Purusha, and so on. The Agama Shastra connection is very evident because wearing the linga is like wearing the Janeyu. It abolishes the sutakas of jati and menstruation. And it draws from the Gita, two different verses, imitate verses from the Gita. And then it has several Puranic elements in it, but it rejects the superiority of Brahma and Vishnu and treats Shiva as the one who has created the world. It elucidates bhakti and offers an exposition on various thalas of spiritual progression. It reflects the same rules found in the Dharma Shastra text, the same notions of purification found in the Dharma Shastras are present. And it's a parallel philosophy in the sense that Shiva creates pramathas, the first devotees such as Renuka and Daruka. These are two great saints or gatekeepers, and this is reminiscent of Sanat Kumaras or Nara Narayana or Jaya Vijaya. And Mahalakshmi, Saraswati, Vishnu, and all these other deities bow down to Shiva and perform seva to him. And it substitutes the Agnyopavita with 108 Rudrakshas. So it lists and clarifies its own innovations and changes and integrates several philosophies and schools of thought. It defines Veerashaiva as deriving from Vidyayam Ramate. He who relishes earning Vidya, that's a Veerashaiva. It quotes specifically from Jabala Upanishad, which is considered a source for Pashupata Tantra. And this is very interesting because Satyakama Jabala's story itself is very illustrative of the fact that caste is irrelevant and conduct is. So this text is very interesting for quoting several times from that Upanishad. So this text claims to be a Shaiva Siddhanta based on the entirety of the Veda, unlike other Siddhantas, and distinguishes between internal and external forms of worship. And there are 6 sthalas mainly, and it is enumerative like Sankhya, and several other sthalas are added throughout the text. It's a very dizzying enumeration. And it uses the word moksha and mukti, and there is a small amount of critique of dvijas who do not wear bhasma or rudraksha, and it upholds varnashrama dharma alongside other paths. Now we come to specific guru reference in the text. Basically Yogin, Siddha, Shivayogin, Jangama, Samayin, Jivan Mukta, Virakta, Jnanacharin, Jnanin, Bhavalingin, Jnanalingin, Triptilingin, and so on. These are the various words that are referenced for the Guru. To track what is said about each of these terms would be to repeat the entire text, so it's just impossible. And Shiva is the Parasthala Shivayogin in relation to the Guru. Now, student reference are mostly Shishya, but also Shilin, Shushrushu, Sevya, Guru, and Sahabhojaka. So in the beginning of the text, the Agastya, the ideal student, is praised as being uncultured, as having given up uncultured, egoistic feeling. So we know how a disciple should look. And he worships Renuka by offering him water, food, seed in the traditional way. And he praises Renuka. So from just this very short exchange, we know that a Shishya has to be worshipful of his Guru. And Renuka, in turn, speaks in a very calm voice and inquires after Agastya's austere practices, praises his greatness by invoking various stories, and the conversation is to the point. And what we see from this relationship is a relationship of mutual respect and honor. In the 6th chapter of the text, there is an elucidation of who the Guru is. He is generally someone who is free from avarice and delusion, who cherishes the knowledge of principle of self, and who is bereft of perplexity about sense objects, who knows the principles of the Shaiva doctrine, and who has his doubts and confusions completely cut off, who is well versed in the agamas, is pious, is truthful, and his religious practices are handed down by family lineage. He's totally free of practicing prohibited paths. He's intent on meditation on Shiva. He's tranquil and has an awareness of the principle of Shiva. He's adept at smearing bhasma. He knows how to wear the Tripundra, wears the Rudraksha, he wears the Linga, And he knows the distinction between Lingasthala and Angasthala, and so on. And basically is well aware of the doctrine of non-duality, and teaches that as well. And the text comes up with a very interesting redefinition of the word guru. It does say elsewhere that he dispels darkness and so on, but it also says that the syllable guru, the syllable gu stands for that which is beyond gunas, and the syllable ru stands for that which is beyond rupa. And he who confers something which is beyond gunas and rupa is the guru. Now we come to who is a disciple. He who always wants to be instructed by the Shivayogi is an aspirant for liberation, has an attachment towards his guru, is always firm in mind, speech, and physical action, has been eulogized as a Shiva. As a Shishya, he is calm, self-restrained, given to penance, speaks the truth, and looks upon all with equality. This is almost like the definition of the Brahmin, and who treats the Guru and Shiva with equal regard. He is the best among Shishyas. So he also...
Sushumna ji, I think you have to go back to the slide mode.
Okay.
Yeah, that was first one. Yeah, correct.
Okay. Apologies for that. So he's also someone who does not discriminate between Guru and Shiva. He views both of them as the same. And he treasures the gracious glance of the Guru and never transgresses any direction given by the Guru. So what the disciple must do and what the Guru must do is very precisely laid out in this text. And the detail is truly fascinating, because we think today that we can just go meet any guru and it's just a meeting or some such thing. But here it's not like that. It's very clear as to what the disciple must do. He must render service to the teacher with devotion and fear for 6 months or a year, or until he is pleased. And we know that bringing summit and firewood, these are not meaningless activities. This means that the Shishya is participating in the fire sacrifices that the Guru conducts. This is in a Gurukula context. So almost everything he does is meaningful and useful. And the disciple should stand with palms joined together and full of obedience and appeal with devotion. He must request for protection and basically pray and ask. He must have an earnest desire to know, and he must offer to the Guru his body, his wealth. But the Guru again is someone who is tranquil. So both are defined together. How a Guru should be and how a Shishya should be, both are defined. And he must also worship the Guru just as he worships Shiva, and offer all forms of worship the same way that he would to Shiva himself. The Shishya must also revere the Jangama, and this is interesting because it's not just Guru in the Veerashaiva tradition, it's a triad of Guru, Linga, and Jangama. We could view all three of them as teachers or as purifiers. So he reveres the Jangama in the same way that he reveres the Guru and the Linga without making any discrimination. And several vachanas in the Veerashaiva tradition also emphasize that we must give to the Jangama, because they are wandering mendicants who must be sustained by the Grihasthas. So the Jangama, the wandering mendicant, is considered to be a link between the Guru and Shishya. And to me, this itself complicates Dumont's category of individualism, the sannyasi as individualistic, because there is simply not one kind of a sannyasi. There is a sannyasi who gives as guru, there is a sannyasi who receives as jangama, and so on. And can we say that the jangama is not giving back anything? That's impossible. We can't say that he's not truly participating. So that, and he must recognize the unity of Shambhu and Guru, which is Shiva here, and he must recognize the that it is Shiva actually who is the Guru in visible form. And here is a verse that imitates the Bhagavad Gita verse. He who is Shiva should be known as the Guru, and he who is the Guru should be regarded as Shiva. Wise men should not make any difference between them for the purpose of attaining knowledge. So a similar verse is found in the Bhagavad Gita, so the text is imitating it. What the disciple must do, he must also recognize that Shambhu is actually the Guru. This I'm continuing. So Guru and Jangama are the nature of Shiva. He must view them both in the same way and receive padodakas from them in the same way. Shambhu must be also recognized as the Guru of all beings. And because Shambhu is without limbs, he cannot appear directly, therefore he appears in the form of Guru. So what the disciple must not do is also very specifically mentioned. He must never transgress the Guru's order. He must never insult the Aachaarya or stay in a place where the Aachaarya is insulted. He must just walk away or curse the person who is insulting the Aachaarya or Shiva. He should not speak of the Guru in derogatory terms. A person who is devoid of devotion towards Guru will also not find devotion for Shiva arise in him. And like the Manusmriti, the text says that seducing the Guru's wife is a sin, but it claims that the Rudraksha can purify one from even that sin. So all Sutakas and Patakas can be absolved. So what the Guru must do is very specific. And that's why this is important for the modern context. The Guru very specifically offers Diksha, Lingadharana, Vibhuti, and Bhasma, and Panchakshari Mantra. There is simply no confusion in this. So the Diksha are of three kinds, Veda, Kriya, and Mantra. And Shiva is infused into the senses through touch, hearing, looking into, and the performance of rites. That's the Kriya. And so this is the specifics of Lingadharana. I don't want to go into that. The specifics of Vibhuti, how Bhasma must be prepared, and so on. I don't want to go into that. And again, the Panchakshari Mantra. So the Panchakshari Mantra initiation is not unlike the Gayatri initiation. It's very similar. So there is a triad of teachers, Guru, Linga, and Jangama. I could also think of them as purifiers. And then there is a very interesting classification of gurus that I found extremely interesting and rare. So there is a Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru, Jnana Guru, and so on. Each of these gurus are very specific. They have specific kinds of knowledges that they impart, and they cannot be substituted, as it were. So this Aachaarya, the Aachaarya is one who absorbs or gathers and collects together various teachings and offers it to the Shishya. The Deshika is a preceptor who persists with the yoga, which transcends the six advans. And the Jagat Guru is one who is the cause for the means of crossing over the ocean, and so on. So there is the Shiksha Guru. The Diksha Guru is one who gives instruction in the discipline, what is to be taught. He who teaches it is called the Shiksha Guru. He sets the syllabus. The Jnana Guru is one who imparts a special knowledge. So in this way, the text goes on giving us distinctions about the kinds of gurus there are. And the specificity was truly amazing. So then there is a lot of eulogization of the Guru in the text. The gracious glance of the Guru as the kalpa tree. This is another verse that imitates the Bhagavad Gita. He is the milky ocean among the oceans, the Sumeru among the mountains, Kaustuba among jewels, sandalwood among trees, Shankara among gods, and so on. And he is the moon and sun, because he eradicates darkness and he cuts through the forest of doubts. He is a clear mirror who shines knowledge to us. And it is by him that knowledge of Shiva is attained and characterized by supreme bliss, the greatness of the Guru, and the virtue of abundance of one's knowledge. So it's only as a result of the greatness of the Guru that we achieve the knowledge of Linga, and so on. A couple more slides of this eulogization. So the Linga is again the Brahman of the Upanishads. He is the remover of darkness, the accomplished Guru. Yeah, he is the one who terminates transmigration. He is a lamp in the form of knowledge. He rubs aside the disease of transmigration, and he offers knowledge directly without scriptural training necessary. So in some way, the text is doing away with the Vedas, and it's asking the Guru to do what would otherwise take several years of training of learning the Veda, learning the grammar, learning Sanskrit, and so on. He's an ocean of knowledge, and so on. And there is a very interesting progression of how the Shishya progresses when he goes through spiritual knowledge, the various stages. He at first becomes Shilin, there's another stage, and then the Shushrushu, he himself is served by others, Sevya, again served and honored by others, and then he himself becomes Guru. And then he becomes the Sahabhojaka, consumer of all worlds, along with the Guru and Shiva. So this is the progression that we see. So the Shishya becomes Guru. This is pretty much what I have just spoken about. So in the end, there is a Sahabhojana, and finally there are a few other stages like Vishwahomin. He becomes Vishwahomin, and also Purna Hanta and Vishwa Havyabhuk, the consumer of all the worlds, and so on. So I want to now draw a few conclusions. My conclusions are pretty simple. It is that the conduct of the Guru and the Shishya is very clearly laid out. There is no room for confusion. And the topic is always spiritual knowledge. There is no, dabbling in worldly desires or any worldly talk at all. So what we learn is that even Agastya, the greatest of rishis, learns from Renuka. So there might always be kinds of knowledges that are unknown and that are still there. This is the understanding we get from the text. And the progression on the spiritual path is clearly laid out. There is absolutely no mumbo jumbo possible when this kind of precision is followed. And the specificity is completely fascinating. We often take it for granted. We think we can do anything when we go to a guru and talk about all kinds of worldly problems, but that's not seen here. The disciple must do homework, and this is something again that's kind of missed out in the modern context. And we often assume that the Guru has to do things for us, whereas in this case, the disciple must do his homework. He must study shaastras, and that is a prerequisite. And often this is portrayed as an oxymoron because we think that we must know how to find the right kind of Guru without doing any research, without studying any shastra. But that's hardly possible. There is an awareness in the text that gurus can be false and imposters. So, for instance, Renuka mentions that there is an improper understanding of the agamas, like found in Jains, Buddhists, and Charvakas, and so there is a notion of wrong knowledge. And the awareness of imposter gurus, again, as the Jains and Buddhists, is also there. There is an awareness that gurus cannot become freeloaders on society, and the signs of an enlightened man is seen in observable conduct. This is something that is repeated in the text. The guru is very observably a certain way, very observably sitting in meditation and so on. So there is no chance to mistake a real one for a fake one. So these kinds of texts show us a map and tell us the signs of a true guru. Now, the very fact that there are so many different kinds of gurus with so many different specializations also tell us that we must today learn to see what kind of guru we are approaching. Is the guru a tantric guru, a yogic guru? And we also have amongst us today the other distinctions that is there in other Hindu texts, like for instance, Aachaarya, Muni, Upaadhyaaya, Rishi, Guru, Swami, Avaduta. And the way in which to understand each of these gurus is markedly different. And when we collapse the categories, we make mistakes, and we also end up in trouble, perhaps. So I want to say that the indigenous categorizations of the guru figure are rich, and we must pay attention to this before calling out hypocrisies. And it appears that the knowledge necessarily is not cognitive, but experiential, and therefore, too, the need for different kinds of gurus who would ensure the evolution of the shishya into different stages. And finally, I think we must theorize servitude better. The servitude we see here is towards a certain goal. It is transactional. It does not go unrewarded. And hence, servitude is not necessarily negative. It results, in fact, in great accomplishments as far as this text is concerned. In the end, the disciple becomes a savior himself and is honored, and he becomes a guru himself, and then finally Shiva. So that trajectory is not missed. It's not omitted. And that's very interesting, because when modern scholarship criticizes the Guru Shishya Parampara, what it does not see is what is the final thing, that what happens finally is that the Shishya also progresses so fantastically and becomes Shiva himself. So servitude results in liberation from samsara and results in the achievement of a godly status. When servitude is considered fully and its logical conclusions pursued, we see that it offers us rare kinds of knowledges. So I would also say that we must, today in the modern context, we must refrain from mixing ashramas and purusharthas, because we often go to renunciate gurus and talk to them about worldly problems, ask them what course I must choose, what must I do in my life, whom should I marry, and so on. And this is highly erroneous. There are renunciate gurus, there are once householder, now renunciate gurus, and there are householder gurus. So Hinduism allows for a variety of these kinds of gurus. And when we mix up the ashramas and the purusharthas, we make mistakes. And so in this context, we have a lot to learn from Ubhay Bharati. Ubhay Bharati asked her questions of Shankara, knowing full well that he won't be able to answer it. So we must not take samsaric problems to the renunciate guru and expect, fantastic answers to all our problems. In turn, gurus too must be able to adapt the Dharma Shastras today in specific ways. But again, this is subject to how much exposure they've had to the world. Have they been married? Have they been not? And so on and so forth. Hence, the onus is on us to know the specialization of the guru before we consult them. And we must ideally consult them only for spiritual knowledge. And this restricts the possibility of power abuse. So modern media uses the term God-man quite freely, although many gurus have come out and said that we reject the term, that it's not something that we like, and so on. So modern media demands of us an upaadhyaaya where we might have an Aachaarya, It demands of us a muni, where we might have a guru of a different kind, and so on and so forth. And we have amidst us gurus of varied expertise today: a pandita, a pujari, an archaka, sometimes an astrologer, and so on, will also help us as gurus in various ways. So modern scholarship and media will usually have a problem if gurus participate or help in society, and they have a problem with gurus if they don't do anything. So this supposed abuse of power can be checked in a couple of ways. One is the cultivation of inner guru, so that we know what we are getting into. And the other thing is, power, the abuse of power is present everywhere. So we must not simply reject the guru shishya relationship simply because there is a possibility of the abuse of power. That can happen in all situations. What's important is that in Hindu thought, we find checks and balances against the abuse of power, and by knowing the texts very well, and by being aware of what it means to be ethically strong, I think one can recognize the true guru from the false one. And Siddhanta Shikhamani goes a long way in helping us to get to this point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sushumna. This was really a very fantastic analysis of Siddhanta Shikhamani. And there is one question by Narendra Kumar. What is Jangama?
He's a wandering mendicant. He's a Veerashaiva saint himself, but he doesn't stay in one place. So that's the definition of it. So there are gurus who stay in one place, gurus who don't, and so on.
So if there are any other questions, audience may type in the questions in the Q&A box. There is a Q&A box in the panel in front of you. So if you have any questions, you may type them, and Sushumna ji will answer those questions directly, even if you put those questions after her talk. Thank you very much, Sushumna ji. You were able to interact with the modern perceptions also. You brought in the modern perceptions and related the text Siddhanta Shikhamani with the modern ways of looking at Guru, and how there are modern misunderstandings of the Guru's power abuse and all those. That is really very, very required analysis today. That the bhakti itself, the word bhakti itself, whether it is Daiva bhakti or Guru bhakti, is misunderstood to be some loss of individuality kind of, loss of liberty kind of slavery. They almost look at that as slavery, and I see some scholars tracing it to ancient slavery practices also. And they get confused with the use of words like dasa, dasya, dasyu in the Veda mantras, and then they trace it historically to the dasa used in the bhakti traditions. And I think this happens because for them, they see they are coming from individuality and liberty as the anchor points from Western analysis. So for them, anything that doesn't actually highlight or signify, give significance to individuality and liberty should be bad. And in what way that is bad, they try to create theories out of air. And most of these theories are ad hoc also. they take a few data points and connect them in whatever way they like. They give whatever reasoning that comes handy to them. And that brings this idea of slavery and loss of liberty and all that. So you were successfully able to give all the possible counter arguments to such modern perceptions about bhakti.
Bhakti.
Now we have
Now we have
more questions. Uh, can we get access to the paper? The paper will be published on Indica Today magazine. So then you will be able to get access to that. And this recorded talk will be uploaded to Indica YouTube channel. And there is one more question, madam. Is there an opportunity for self-learning in this philosophy? Example, Ekalavya.
Yeah. Not like Ekalavya, perhaps, but one can study the shastras and then approach a guru. And in the end, one relies on one's own inner guru. There is that notion, and that one must not distinguish between oneself, one's guru, and Shiva. So, but that I think takes a lot of purification, and that is what the guru puts the shishya through. All the purificatory practices and disciplines the shishya and so on. So basically the text is steeped in the Guru Shishya Parampara. Before the Shishya becomes independent, there is a lot of work that he does with the Guru. This is what we are seeing.
This
So
question was from Ellen Vemuri.
Mhm.
The next question by Shantanu De. Oh, Shantanu De is our own scholar. What is the role of Shastrartha and argumentation within scholarly discourses as far as the relation between the Guru and Shishya is concerned?
Yeah. So as far as I see in this in the text, the Shishya comes with his own reading, that is a textual reading of the Shastra, and then the Guru imparts to him the deeper understanding that comes from experience. So what he learns with the Guru will be the final. So he does Shastrat and argumentation with the Guru. There is that part as well. If I haven't mentioned it, please pardon me. There is a mention that he will teach, the Shastras.
That's wonderful, wonderful. So, in brief, please tell us how to find a true spiritual Guru.
First, read the Shastras by yourself, and then you will find a guru. Like they say you will find a guru when you're ready. The guru will come to you when you're ready for the guru. But personally, I found that the Guru Paduka Stotra, if you just listen to it or chant it every day for about an year or so, there are good chances that you will meet an amazing guru. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So, Narendra Kumar ji, the books like Siddhanta, Shikhamani, that was being analyzed by Sushumna ji today, and there is going to be another text that is going to be analyzed from a Vaishnava point of view. All these texts are actually guiding you in identifying a true guru to the extent possible, but there are always possibilities of cheats in every field. But to the extent possible, all these guiding books, they are telling you these are the characteristics of a good guru. So identify your good guru this way. They give you those guidelines. The point that they are giving you guidelines itself shows that they are asking you not to be blind, not to approach everybody. They give the analogy of a calf and the cow. They say that if the calf in search of a mother cow, it goes to the place where all the cows are tied. then it may, the cow which is not its actual mother may hit it. So it is always better for the calf to stay in its own place and cry for its mother. The mother is already searching for the calf and it will come to the calf anyway. So it is always better for the calf to stay in its own place and cry for the mother. Narendra Kumar, this is an administrative question. How to get a scholar in residence fellowship at INDICA? Thanksgiving. Who is important, Guru and Shishya in Parampara relationship? Okay. Who is
We'd have
important?
to say both. Both are important. There is no guru without shishya and no shishya without guru. So both are pursuing knowledge, and both are important.
This was a question by Anjan Nandi. Thank you. Thanks to all of you for your good questions.